Welcome to Keep On Growing. We're going to talk about the easiest way I've found to grow microgreens, and that's with our self-watering adapter. So let me know if this answers all your questions, and stick around to the end. I'm going to give you a code to get some of these really cheap. Now, hundreds of you have these, I think over 1,000 now. So I'm going to go through a couple of the questions that I've been getting, because a lot of my videos are like really fast paced, and that's just the way the internet is now. So I'm going to slow down and just answer a few of your questions. And at the same time, I'm going to be playing a video over here of me actually setting up one of these containers with the refillable adapter. And I'm setting one up with Hydroton or clay pebbles, and I'm setting one up with sand. That way you can see in real time. It's not going to be sped up, and it's not going to be chopped up like all my videos. It's real time just setting one of these up. Alright? So that will be playing over here while we answer some of the questions. And I just want you to see that so that you understand that, you know, this isn't something that takes a whole lot of time. And this is once you get your supplies together, just like this, once you grow you some microgreens like this, if you harvest this, it's not going to take that much time to clean up and just to plant another one and keep the cycle going over and over again. Alright, question number one is, what are the nutrients and do you need them? Now, basically for microgreens, you really don't need them, but if you want to grow them out a little bit bigger like this, I found that having nutrients helps. Now, a lot of people say you don't need any nutrients with microgreens because the seed has all the energy it needs. But with something small like this kale and broccoli, pak choi, they're tiny seeds. There's not a whole lot of energy stored in there. Now, other seeds that are bigger like peas that you've seen us grow really long pea shoots, I didn't add any nutrients to that. I grew that with just water. Any of your beans and peas, you usually don't need that. But something with a very small seed, it's got enough energy for it to sprout, and then once it starts forming leaves, it's going to start photosynthesis, which it needs the nutrients. And if you let it grow 2-3 inches and it doesn't have any nutrients, it's not going to help it out. So in my experience, most of the plants that are smaller seeds, it helps to have a little bit of nutrients in there. Now I use the Master Blend formula. You've seen it all over my channel. But you can also use General Hydroponics Maxi Grow if you just want to grow leafy greens like this. And there's also some organic ones that you could probably get away with using those. Just keep in mind that this is a non-circulating system, and anything that's organic that just sits around for a few days is going to go anaerobic and start to smell funky after a while. Now on this channel, you've seen me grow with no soil at all, like we did with the peas. We've grown with soil with the self-watering microgreen growers that we started with. And we've been growing with Hydroton or clay pebbles, just like you see here, and sand. So people are asking me which one's best. To me, there's no best. It's what's best for you and where you live. We all have different circumstances. We all have different environments that we're growing with. Some things are just going to work better for some people. Now at the moment, I'm really liking the sand, and I'm going to give you a couple of the pros and cons. Now with stuff like the peas and mung beans, the bigger seeds like that, I'm still doing those with no soil. It grows well and it makes for easy cleanup. Now ever since my channel got started, I was using soil with a self-water microgreen grower, but I was constantly having to compost it or buy new soil. That's why I started using clay pebbles or sand. I wanted to find something that I could wash and use over and over again. Now both have their pros and cons. I'm kind of leaning towards sand right now. As far as the cleanup goes, it can't be beat. I just dump that into a 5-gallon bucket, the sand sinks and all the organic matter floats to the top, and it's easy to separate. The Hydroton needs to be set out in the sun for weeks, or if you want to clean with hydrogen peroxide or even heat them up in the oven, they need to be cleaned a little more thoroughly. It's harder to get all of the roots and plants out of the Hydroton because when you put in water, everything floats and it's all mixed up together. So the sand's really easy to clean. Another thing I like the sand for is for the germination rate on the smaller seeds. A bigger seed like radish does all right in the Hydroton. Those kind of sit around on the top. Some of them fall through. Most of them will sit on the top. Your smaller seeds, some will stick to the Hydroton and the other ones will fall to the bottom. Now something like pak choi or this kale here, the ones that are in the bottom will still sprout and they'll come up at different rates. Now even though that happens, not all of them do, so you lose some seed on the bottom. Or when you're washing it out, those will go into compost and you grow some volunteer plants. When you have your sand leveled out, you get an excellent germination rate. It's just like when you're doing it in soil. You have a nice level surface, you sprinkle your seeds, none of them sink. So the sand's helping with the germination of smaller seeds. One drawback of the sand is it's heavy. Hydroton is a clay pebble and it's really light. This bowl doesn't weigh hardly anything, but if you have that much sand, if I took a container that big and put sand in it and water, it becomes quite heavy. Now if you have a bunch of those containers set up like I do and you go to clean up, then you have like 50 pounds of sand you have to clean through. As of now, I'm leaning towards the sand. I'm really enjoying it. You're going to see more and more videos like that, but I'm open to trying different mediums. This is what's going to help the most people out there, right? Someone else asked, is it really set it and forget it? So like in the videos, you see me setting this up. We've got the refillable glass container. That just goes in there like that. And this covers it up. I just cut a hole in the top. Now if you have that, that acts like a little terrarium and it keeps the seeds moist. So once you set it up and you spritz it, I've got some radish out there right now that you see me setting up in here, and the one that's in sand, I didn't have to come back and spritz it or anything. I just set it there and I just uncovered it this morning. Didn't do anything to it. So that's what we set it up and now it's sprouted and it's at this point. So really carefree. Now if this isn't sealed good or you don't have it covered, if you don't put a top layer over your seeds, you're going to have to come back in and spritz them and keep them damp until they germinate. Once they germinate, they start sending roots out. When you see the roots going down far enough to touch the water, which is good that we have these clear containers, we can see when the roots go down there, then you don't have to spritz it anymore. But if you come in and they're looking dry, hit them with a little water. But if you grow traditional microgreens in soil, part of your job is coming in there 2 or 3 times a day and spritzing it when it first starts. So basically that's the same. If it looks like it's drying out, spritz a little. If you've got it covered, the moisture in there evaporates. It's going to get collect up on top and it's going to create a little moist environment there and you don't have to worry about it. So just experiment with it. But don't sit there and just watch your seeds dry up. Now what's the difference in all these adapters is that we were making things that fit different bottles. Now there's a lot of different bottles out there, but we try to get the most common ones, and a lot of people have mason jars. So the ball mason jar, not the generic ones that you get at the store. We've got this to fit the ball mason jars. And then we started with, there's lots of people that have these and they were going to recycling. It just fits on your normal little Coke bottle. Now all of a sudden that Coke bottle that was in your recycling has turned into a self-watering microgreen grower. And then somebody asked if we could put these two together, and that's what the hybrid is. So there's a space in the middle for that to fit, or if you've got these, so you've kind of got 2 in 1, you can make your choice whichever one. If you've got some of these available, you can do it. If not, you can use your mason jars. Then people kept asking about refilling it. So at this point, those are ready to go. You can eat that. That's microgreens, right? If you want it to go a little further, you're going to have to let it sit for a few more days. But basically, that's microgreens. And if you look up here, right there is the water level. So we haven't refilled it. I didn't see any need to refill anything, but people were wanting to grow them out a little more. I think I showed one of my pak choys that they grew pretty big. We have baby greens, and I refilled that a couple times. So they wanted a refillable container, so that's why we made this one. So once you fill it up like you see us doing in the video, you get it started initially like that. When it runs out, you pull this out, refill it, and all you have to do is, if you get aim, just take it. You know, the water's not going to just drain out of there really fast. Just take it, put it in like that, and you're fine. So that fits these long neck bottles. I think this was a ginger ale, ginger beer. And we've got one for these plastic ones. Just a little bit bigger, but they hold those just fine. So if you've got a bunch of these, which a lot of people have, I think instead of it going into the landfill, you can just use it for a refillable bottle. It just had to be a little bigger. This will fit in here, but see, it's not going to fit. This doesn't fit in that one. So they have to be a little bit different, just so they work. So that's the different ones that we have. And one last thing that people tend to ask is, once you cut your microgreens, do they grow back? Basically, the answer is no. But if you didn't get like 100% germination where they all germinated at the same time and they all grew at the same exact time where you're going to cut it, you're going to have some taller microgreens and some shorter ones. So if you do cut the taller ones off and you leave it set for a little while longer, those that you didn't cut will sprout up and you get another second batch. It won't be as full and it won't be as vibrant and as lush as the first grow, but you can get a second one. And it's the same thing with the peas. Everyone was asking if you can get some more with the peas. Now the peas will continue to grow, but as it grows taller and taller, the stem gets thicker and thicker and it gets really woody and gets really chewy, and you can actually choke on it when you're trying to eat. Usually pea shoots, you only want the very top little tender shoot with a couple of leaves. Now the peas, you can take them and strip off the pea leaves and you can eat it. They taste like peas. But something like this, once you cut the true leaves off or the first set of leaves, they're not going to sprout another set of leaves. So once you cut them, trim most of your microgreens down, they're done. So if you want to come in, trim off the top ones here, and then you can see some smaller ones down below here, and let those grow and continue to grow. You can, but sooner or later, these that you cut the first time, those are going to die. So the roots and the stem that are in there, when you cut off those leaves, those will start to die. When these continue to grow, you're going to have organic matter in here now starting to die. That's when, especially stuff with brassicas, kale, broccoli, and things like that, you're going to get a real smelly situation. So just use your best judgment. If you have it outside and you don't mind a little bit of smell, you can do that. But once you start getting these starting to die off, the first trim, then you're going to get problems with mildew and other things like that too. So you can go ahead and not plant as densely here and let them grow out a little bit bigger as baby greens, or just trim off half and then pull out the roots and then let the other half keep growing. There's all kinds of things you can do. So just experiment. It's lots of fun. You guys get this. This takes away the care. You don't have to get out there and worry about babying your microgreens 2 or 3 times a day. And the only drawback with that is that you might forget it. We call it set it and forget it. Don't just put them out there and just come back a week later. You're going to want to check them every day and see that everything's going all right. So I hope that helps. Right now, if you want to try any of these, I've got my Etsy shop. I'm Mike Vanduzzi on Etsy. You can find me over there. That's the name of my shop, all one word, Mike Vanduzzi. And if you use the coupon code when you put your stuff in your basket, you go to checkout, you use KOG40, you'll get 40% off. Right now it's 25% off, so I think you'll get an extra 15% off just by entering the coupon code KOG40, and that's going to be good for 2 weeks, I think. All right? Get out there, lift, inspire, and keep on growing. We'll catch you later.